Well, good evening, everybody. It's Blair Nightingale here. It's Thursday, and so it is time for Stock Talk Thursday. Stock Talk Thursday. Thank you to everybody out there who joined us this past Monday from New York City. I had a good time. I hope you did as well. Coming in every Monday night, Market Monday, taking a look at the markets. We went through some amazing material on Monday night. I mentioned, hey, we're back on Thursday, always back on Thursday for the very end of the trading week, right? We've got one more day of open market trading tomorrow. Definitely been an interesting week around here at Tradeway as the market has been just highly volatile, a lot going on. So I love that we get to come in on Thursday, 4:30 Central Time, and just go over what happened. We're going to look at something hot, something not, and we're going to look at the major news item. Now, I hesitate on that a little bit because actually today we've got two news items to look at very briefly, very simple, but the two items that I think you ought to be aware of. I mentioned that it's usually one, but sometimes two. Right now, I'm going to say there's two things for you as a trader. I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to keep it sweet. I'm going to keep it simple tonight so that you get what you need and you can feel ready tomorrow morning. As I mentioned, we're always looking at something hot, something not, and something newsworthy because as traders, especially under the Tradeway system, right? The way we do this here at Tradeway, we are primarily using the stock chart, the price chart to educate ourselves, to make buying and selling decisions. We are not buying, selling on news, okay? Primarily so, we're not buying and selling on news. However, we are buying and selling somewhat on news, right? We use news to a certain degree. And that, of course, is a balance we teach you in our program. So we've got to look at both, but we're going to spend more time looking at charts tonight. For those of you who have never been here before, remember you can always drop a comment, a question, anything you want in the comment box there, Facebook or YouTube. I'd be happy to jump out of what we're talking about and into what you might be interested in knowing. It can have something to do with specifically what I'm covering or just stocks in general. I'm happy to do that. Of course, you can always say hi as well. If you're joining us on recording, then you can drop a comment right there, Facebook, YouTube, doesn't matter which one you're on, and my team will get that, pass that along to me so I can get that taken care of for you. I would be happy to do that as well. Okay, guys. Well, first of all, in fact, let me go ahead and switch something here. Make sure that's big enough. You can see the market here. Now, I just want to point one thing out, all right? From time to time on Market Monday, we'll go through and do a minute market checkup, right? So we just want to jump in and I'll show you some of the things that we're talking to our students about every single day in the program on Monday night. It gives us an opportunity to look at the market and get an idea of what the behavior of the stock market is like. Because for you and I as traders, we want to know what the stock market as a whole is doing, okay? Because we can go look at a specific company from here, but if we don't know what the market as a whole is doing, well, the principle we like to quote around here, rising tides tends to lift all boats, is very true of stocks. Okay, it's very true of stocks. So we want to have that principle down. So we'll look at this S&P 500 chart. Now, I'm just going to show you quickly here. You know, what have we done here? We broke the 50-day moving average. Monday, nasty looking day. We broke that 50-day moving average. We haven't done that in some time, as you can see on the chart, right? Not since March 21, okay? And we didn't stay down there for long. We were down there for barely a day, okay? Barely a day. So breaking through the 50-day moving average, pretty big, hitting that 100-day and bouncing back up from there, closing about 1.5 points above the 20-day today with that resistance line, old support, potentially becoming new resistance. It moved down on this day, on Monday, then it moved up halfway, then the next day down again, then the next day up, way up, and then halfway down, today up again. So back and forth, definitely not an easy time, not a prime time to be trading short-term positions when the market's just changing directions constantly. Big swings, big volatility. So that even though we typically cover news at the end of Stock Talk Thursday, that's one of the big things here, okay, is that we're just in volatility. We're just in volatility. So we're definitely helping our students understand this is how you ought to protect yourself when the market is in transition, right? We can look at why the market is in transition. I will cover that at the very end, but it is. We broke the pattern. We broke the pattern in the S&P. So we have to pay attention to that and find a place where reliability, consistency comes back into the market. And that for us as stock traders. Now, remember options, if you learn how to trade options from us, this will give you some flexibility. This will give you some options that you don't necessarily have with stocks, okay? Did you know that if we trade with options, we can actually structure a trade in such a way where I actually don't need the stock to move a specific direction. I don't need it to go a specific direction. It's what we call a neutral position. We can teach you how to do that. It's pretty cool stuff. Just got to know how to do it. But if we're trading stocks, we need sustained direction. We haven't seen that in the market this week. So we have to look at some other skill sets or know when it's best to sit on the sidelines. That said, what's going on in the market here? All right, a couple things I want to show you. This chart here, I'm going to go ahead and just remove all these drawings. Okay. American Airlines, let's start right over here. Carnival Cruise Lines, travel right now, getting a big bump. Okay. I just showed you the S&P 500 and it's been looking pretty nasty this week. You go out, you look at some travel stocks out there, airlines, cruise lines, things like that. They've actually held up pretty well through this storm, if you will, through this volatility. In this case, you can look at Carnival Cruise Lines, this one having held its pattern, right? It went sideways, but actually didn't really see much for volatility here. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen here, I've got an earnings date, meaning that they reported earnings today. And after hours, up about 30 cents. So not a whole lot of after hours volatility on this. Of course, at Tradeway, I've showed you this before. We do not trade stocks over earnings reports, okay? Too unpredictable, typically too much volatility or at least probability of volatility. So as directional traders, that's not good for us. We don't want that. But here, actually looking at something that I've mentioned multiple times on Stock Talk, not just a stock that is performing well, but this actually outperforming this week, holding steady and holding a good pattern. Okay, holding a good pattern, even though the S&P did not hold a good pattern, right? It broke the pattern. So there are multiple ways to look at strength when we're talking about trading stocks, okay? Even having some negativity, I would say large amounts of negativity in the overall markets, and that goes for the Dow Jones, that goes for the NASDAQ, that goes for the S&P 500 as well. So this one holding the way it did, that definitely shows some strength. So you could look out there and see some of the travel stocks. You know, these are particularly sensitive to COVID and vaccine news because, of course, these industries have been so hugely affected by that kind of implementation, that kind of regulation, fluctuation happening. Are people traveling? Are people flying? Can people cruise? Are they afraid? These are the kinds of things that come in. But when I look at the chart and I see a pattern, a clear pattern, like you can see on here, and I've highlighted in these purple boxes where these stocks are pivoting. This stock in particular, of course, is pivoting at that support line, okay? And of course, today, we would not have traded this stock, but right at support at the close yesterday, up off support on earnings, got a little bit of a post-market bump today. So Carnival Cruise Lines performing well. Now, this guy, I want to show you this here. On Stock Talk Thursday, I never just want to show you a chart that's moving up or a chart that's moving down. I want to show you a chart that is doing something convincing one direction or another, but I want to learn something specific. I want to pull something specific from the chart because I want you to walk away with something actionable. Now, if you'll notice, this is a higher dollar stock. Back here, we've got significant increase. I mean, significant increase. $88, right? We're looking at that at the low of COVID. And before the end of the year at that point, up to $305. That is a very significant move. This stock, of course, not hot right now. That's a past move. This stock very, very bearish, right? If you remember from our Market Monday course, bearish meaning the buyers aren't there. It's all sellers. It's moving down. When a stock is bearish, it is moving down. You can see that only in, the 1st of June, $320, now sitting close to $220. So nearly a third of its value gone. But here's what I want you to notice in this stock. Okay. We're going to teach you specifically how to take this chart that I'm looking at right now, the same chart that you are looking at right now, and notice that it is in no way just a random change of directions, over time. It's moving up, it's moving down, it's moving up, it's moving down. There are patterns in all of these spots that I want to teach you how to recognize. I'm highlighting some of them for you right now. And these are things that once we learn how to do different plays, what did we see? Right? We saw advance, right? This is what we call advance. This is an uptrend. This stock is advancing, okay? Then we've got some distribution going on here. That's what we call it. We're looking at a rolling stock. It's just going sideways. But it's going sideways between the same 2 points over and over and over. You think maybe we could take advantage of that? And then it actually, like the S&P, breaks the pattern. It's not in the pattern anymore. So we don't know what it's doing until it forms a new pattern, which we have here in a downtrend. It's in a downtrend. So while I can't make guarantees because people make all kinds of crazy decisions in the stock market all the time, I can tell you that we would never teach you to be in this stock before it fell for 2 reasons. 1, it's in a bearish pattern. Number 2, earnings. We've also got earnings, and this one got killed on earnings yesterday. Didn't really recover, didn't do much of anything today. So we'll see what happens in the future. Breaking this previous low here from back in February, didn't gap down to that price, actually gapped below it. So moving up, moving sideways, moving down, one chart having multiple patterns. But if I learn multiple tools, I'm not just stock trading. I actually have the ability to change my strategy to what the stock is doing. And if I learn how to recognize what the stock is doing because I know patterns, then I'm able to recognize when it's time to change the tool, right? I heard a phrase the other day. I think this is an old phrase. Many of you have maybe heard this before many times, but when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? When I only have one tool, well, that's what I use. When it comes to trading, that doesn't work. And a lot of people found that out this week because the market, and I'm going to go back there quickly, the market changed. The market changed what it was doing. It's no longer in that same uptrending range. It broke it. Now, it may recover and come back into that next week. We'll see what happens. If it does, great. But this week, it changed. And when the market changes, just like the seasons change here in East Texas, starting to feel like fall. A little bit earlier this year than normal, starting to feel like fall. Brown leaves, brown grass, cool air, not a lot of humidity. The weather is changing. It's easy for us to recognize the change in weather, and we change our activities. We change what we wear. We change what we do. We even change what we eat and what we buy. Things change. Market moves in seasons too. And when the market moves in seasons, we have to know how to change with the seasons of the market. And I can tell you that whether it moves down significantly from here or not, the season in the market is highly likely changing. It's changing, and that takes us to our news item for this week, because we have talked a lot this summer, right? We're getting, obviously, as I just mentioned, into fall. So summer's really behind us. But through the summer, you know what dominated the news? The one news item that I kept bringing up for you guys, something that we needed to watch almost every single week of this summer, it seemed. It was the Fed, right? It was the Federal Reserve. And that came up again this week. Seems like every week, almost every couple of weeks, the Federal Reserve, they control monetary policy in the United States. So basically put, they get their hands on some of the economic levers that really impact how our economy operates. Now, you think Wall Street is interested in that? See, even if you and I don't totally understand what those levers are, we know that the Fed and Wall Street have a relationship. They pay attention to one another. So when the Fed has something to say, we listen. We listen when they make an announcement, and we watch to see how the Wall Street reacts, right? Watch to see how the market reacts. And we saw that again. Where the Fed said the economy is stable, the economy is growing, the economy is strengthening post-COVID crash, okay? And that means that as the Federal Reserve, speaking for themselves, we are ready to move into a more aggressive policy, meaning they're not going to give away so much free money, so to speak, right? They're not going to be spending so much money to stimulate the economy. They're not going to keep interest rates as low. They're going to actually start charging more interest on lent out money. And that means that Wall Street is going to prepare for that. Wall Street's going to say, dang, we like cheap money. Cheap money stimulates the economy. It's good for stocks. We like cheap money. So Wall Street says, I'm going to pay attention to you, Fed. And I want to see how quickly are you going to change your policy? Because remember, the Fed this week, they mentioned we're going to change it because the economy's doing well. And you and I would think, well, if the economy's doing well, wouldn't Wall Street want to go up? Not if this cheap money is going to dry up a little bit. See, it's a change of seasons. It's something we talk about every day here at Tradeway, breaking it down for you, making it real simple so you're able to make decisions on these two basic things. Should I buy? Should I sell? Those are great things to know as a trader. If we can help you know anything at any time, we would want it to be those two things. Should I buy? Should I sell? What should I buy? Right? When should I sell? That's what we help you understand. And breaking down some of this really confusing stuff around the Fed is something that we do really well. I want you to understand how that works. The Fed made an announcement yesterday, and they said these very things, right? That the economy is doing better. So we're going to tighten up the policy a little bit. Wall Street, sorry to say it, you're not going to see as much cheap money. To which Wall Street said, okay, when? When are you going to change? You're telling us that you're going to at some point, but when? And they were not definitive on that, which I think was probably very intentional. They want to introduce the idea, kind of keep it low key, say, all right, we're going to change this stuff, but we're not going to change it just yet. So Wall Street liked that, and stocks went up today. So that is the reaction to the Fed. Now, I mentioned two main news items. We had a little bit of bad news. I shouldn't even say a little. It was quite a big item out of China. You may notice this in the headlines the next few days, where a major retail firm out of China, one of the biggest in the world, as I understand it, is basically going bankrupt. They're defaulting on all their payments. Now, if a big bank, if a big company that owns and owes many millions, billions of dollars, they go under, that actually affects a lot of other pieces of the economy. And the world has shrunk. We're not all so separated anymore. So something that happens in China could actually impact us pretty significantly over here. And that's what Wall Street was worried about, which is why the S&P broke its pattern this week. Okay. So the main things are, where do we go with the Fed and this China news? Does that stabilize? Seem to do okay today, but we'll have to see what happens in the morning. For you and I, again, if you're in our program or you'd like to be in our program, we're going to connect with you first thing in the morning when the market opens. You'll have access to one of our websites. We go in there. Our coaches post articles, pictures, videos every morning saying, this is what's happening in the market. This is what I expect to see today. This is how you can make some decisions. This is a process over time where we actually equip and train you to know how to do this, okay? And that is the purpose of Tradeway. We want to help you do that. Remember, you can always head over to tradeway.com. If you've not taken any of our courses, tradeway.com, right there on the main page, you can sign up for our Step 1 Start Your Journey. It's less than $100. It's a 2-day course. You're going to learn our entire foundational stock trading system. If you're watching this today, you know somebody, they need to learn this. You've got a retirement account. You are saving for college tuition. Whatever your financial goal is, you want to pay for debt. A lot of us are already in the market. We already have an IRA, a 401k, any number of retirement accounts and vehicles. We've got someone down at the Edward Jones or whatever your financial advisor may be, but we don't actually know how to have a conversation with them. We don't actually know what they do or why they do it. We just pay them and we trust and we hope that because they are professionals that they're doing a great job, but nobody cares about your money more than you do. So give us 2 days of your time. There's a money back guarantee. You can come in at the very least. You can learn, this is how I can have a powerful and constructive conversation with anybody who's managing my money, right? You don't have to be a professional. You just have to learn a few things so you can ask good questions because you want them to care about your money as much as you do. But sometimes we just don't know how to approach that. That is the very baseline of what you're going to walk away with in this 2-day course, tradeway.com. Like I said, less than $100, money back guarantee. It'll be a great way to spend 2 days for your financial health and future. I promise you that. If you have already been through that, then we have subscriptions, right? Tradeway, we make it very easy. You can join us, have a subscription, learn some of these strategies that I told you about. You don't have to sign on for a long time. You can join up. You can do a subscription. You can learn and work with us and get towards your financial goals. That's what we want to help you do. That's what we do here at Tradeway. Market Monday, Stock Talk Thursday. I'm trying to give you a piece of that every week. And that is what we do. Mario, Adam, I see you both here on the comments. Hello to you. Adam joining us from Guam tonight. Thank you for being on there. Mario, I appreciate you as well. I know we've got some other viewers out there. Glad to have you guys on today. Volatile week in the market. Here's what I would say in closing tonight. Don't give your money to the market in a time like this. When the market is shifting and we don't really know what it's doing yet, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to try to force a square peg into a round hole. Do what you were doing last week and the week before that and the week before that, because it's not going to work this week. Most likely. Depends on what you're doing, of course. If you're just buying stocks back and forth, right? We got whipsawed, we like to call it this week. So if it's not working, take a step back, find out what the season is, learn a little bit more, connect with us here at Tradeway, and then we can start putting your capital to work in a constructive way, helping you get towards your financial goals, because that's what this is all about. This is about you putting your money to work. Our good friend Myron says the reason we got a JOB is because our money is unemployed. And this is a great way to employ your dollars. The U.S. stock market, the greatest opportunity that you and I have financially right here, the U.S. stock market. So we're excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it. Thank you for being on here tonight on Stock Talk Thursday, the one-stop shop to know that's hot, that's not. Market tomorrow news. We're watching just to see how we respond at this spot that we're at right here, right underneath this old support line, right above the 20-day. You can see this downward trending line that I'm highlighting here. All of that is right where we're at. Are we going to move down from there? We're going to move up from there. That's what we're going to find out tomorrow morning. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being on. We're back on Monday. As always, I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you need anything and have yourselves a great night.